Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Inside the Vinyl. We're back in my Lost Classics series, and this time I'm coming from a different angle. I've covered a lot of different bands on my Lost Classics series, from Deep Purple to Aerosmith to Kiss, so on and so forth. But this time, I'm going to come at you from a contemporary Christian music angle and talk about my favorite Christian music act of all time, and that would be the band Petra. Petra started in 1972, made a couple albums in the 70s. Those albums more resembled the Eagles and some other things going on during the time. And of course, they continued into the 80s, where they got extremely popular in the early 80s. Again, kind of following what was going on, along the lines of like the Journeys and the REO Speedwagons and Night Rangers and stuff of the world. Enjoyed a lot of success in the early 80s. By the mid 80s, they had changed lineup several times. And by 1988, they had a stable lineup and released what I consider to be their absolute best album, and that would be 1988's On Fire. Hopefully you've seen it here. This was released in 1988 on Star Song Records. It's the first to feature one of their more stable lineups, and that would be founder Bob Hartman on guitar, John Schlitt, amazing vocalist amazing on vocals, Ronnie Cates on bass, who had just joined the band, John Lowry on keyboards, and Louis Weaver on drums. Now, it took me a little bit to find this on vinyl. Christian records, there's not a real big selection of these at used record stores, at least not the ones I've seen. And I got into several different bidding wars on eBay, thinking I was winning, and then in the last 10 seconds, someone would just swoop in and take it away from me. But I was able to purchase this. I purchased it from a gentleman in Canada, and it took, oh my gosh, it took about a month before it finally got here because of coronavirus and shutdowns and things. The gentleman was very nice. He just said there's a lot of trouble getting things out of Canada, so we kind of lost track of it, but then one day it just showed up, and I was very happy because this was my introduction to contemporary Christian music. Now, I was involved in my church youth group at the time, and I had heard of like the Amy Grants and the Michael W. Smiths and things like that, but where I was in life, I've always been more, I like a lot of different kinds of music, but I've always been a rock and metal guy. So a lot of that stuff, while I might have tried to like it so I could fit in, it really didn't suit, like what I prefer. So my friend's mother, I was, I think, 12 at the time. My friend's mother gave me this cassette as a Christmas present. She gave it to me on Christmas Eve, and I woke up early, as all kids do on Christmas morning, and I sat there and listened to that tape on repeat 2, 3, 4 times, just waiting for my parents to get up so I could open the rest of my presents. But I fell in love with this album. I fell in love with this band. I went back and listened to all the old stuff before that, and I've purchased everything they've released since. But to this day, while they've made other great records, this still stands as the first and best Petra album I've ever heard. So let's take a look and see what's inside. This thing was still in shrink wrap; had never been opened or anything else when I got it, so I was pretty stoked. If we open it up, I mean, it's, there wasn't as much money, say, in the Christian contemporary market as there was in the secular Christian market at the time. But, still pretty nice. We open it up, we see, we see the first side has all the lyrics to these songs on side A of the record. It even has a nice cool On Fire logo up there. And then on the back, it just shows, Petra, and then has the lyrics to side 2. We pull the record out, and yeah, I know I'm touching the record. I know how to clean them, so settle down. Okay. If we open up the record, we just see a pretty standard Star Song label in the middle. Nothing too special there. The record's not special colored or anything else. It's all pretty basic. But one of the cool things about this, being that it was from 1988 and being that it had never been opened, which I always think is cool. I always think it's cool to think a record's just been sitting around for 30, 40 years, has never been opened, never been played, never been anything. And then, of course, I get it and all that goes out the window. But the cool thing about this is an original issue. It had never been opened. So, there were some inserts and everything that were still in here as well, if I can get them to come out. Oh, here we go. as I tear up the inside of my thing here. Okay, so there's really only one insert, but I think it's kind of cool because I had totally forgotten about this. Um, being that it had been years since I'd really looked inside of any of their cassettes or anything else, since everything's digital. Um, but a couple of cool things that are in here, you've got, an order form on one side. I don't know if I can really get that close enough to the camera to see. But it's got their tour schedule for 88 and 89. It's got a thing you can order a Transformer Bible. I don't know. I didn't really read to see what that was about. And then, of course, here's the order form, and you can order T-shirts and everything else on here. Kind of stinks you can't see what the T-shirt looks like. I mean, I'd hate to order this was in the days before Hot Topic and Spencer's, where you had to order your shirt and wait 2 months for it to get to you. And in this case, you have no idea what the shirt even looks like. So hopefully it was just the cover of the record. I don't know. I've never seen one. And then on the other side, it talks about, I guess, a company or a charity that they use to support called Compassion International. And it's one of those, like, adopt a child, for so much money a month, like adopt a child in another country sort of thing. Good causes, I guess. I don't know much about Compassion International. I mean, I don't know. I haven't read up on them to see if they're good or bad or whatever. But, good intentions, to give back to charity with their records and stuff, and do as Jesus would want, I assume. So anyway, that's what the inside of the record looks like. So, this record, like I said, first Christian record I ever got, and still one of my all-time favorites by this band and by this genre and by any genre. Just because it's Christian doesn't mean the music's any less. I mean, you might, the lyrics are different. I know some people maybe just can't relate to the religious lyrics, all inspired by, Bible verses and whatever else. But for me, I've always just tried to judge music based on the music, not so much on what genre it was, or if it's this or that, or whatever, or, what members in the group or anything. That being said, I love this record. If you read about it, it gets written off a lot as it was just part two, or just a part two of the previous record, which was called This Means War. I think that's ridiculous. This Means War had some okay songs on it, but for the most part, I didn't really think it was good all the way through. This record is the best record they ever released. It's super heavy. It rocks hard. Every song on here, all 10 songs, there are a couple of ballads on here, but, beyond that, the other 8 songs are all super heavy, super hard, just good, late 80s style arena hard rock. It starts off with All Fired Up, does, just a nice upbeat rocker. Hit You Where You Live, which might be one of the best songs they've ever released. Minefield, which at the time was one of the heaviest Christian songs I'd ever heard. First Love, which is a ballad to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Then you have Defector, Council of the Holy, which is one of their best songs. Somebody's Gonna Praise His Name. And then, closing out with a few songs. Open Book, Standing the Gap, and Homeless Few. It's just, I don't know what else I can say about this record. It was produced by John and Dino Elefante. John Elefante had been the singer for Kansas for a short time in the early 80s, which was interesting because the gentleman that was singing for Petra, at the time of this record, and still to this day, is a gentleman by the name of John Schlitt, who came to fame in the 70s as a member of the secular band Head East. So I always find it's kind of cool that the former singer from Kansas is producing the former singer from Head East, and producing, contemporary Christian music. Again, I don't really know what else to say about this record. I think everybody that's interested in, Christian music, or maybe that's, a rock and metal fan but hasn't found anything in the Christian genre that really appeals to them, I say check out Petra. On Fire, this is a great record. Through the years, they've done records, that some were pretty hard rocking, some were softer, whatever. This, by far, was the heaviest record they had made up to this time. And if you like this one, you'd probably like their final record, which came out in 2003, called Jekyll and Hyde. It's super heavy, probably even heavier than this. But this record, On Fire, in my opinion, still stands the time as their absolute best record. They have other great ones, More Power to You, Never Say Die, Not of This World, Back to the Streets, No Doubt, Beyond Belief, all fantastic records, but I think they all pale in comparison to On Fire. What else can you say about it? I was hooked from the time I saw the cover, and I couldn't get enough Petra after that, and it really opened my eyes to a whole world of Christian hard rock at the time. Other bands like White Cross, Barren Cross, and then of course into the '90s you ended up with like Newsboys and some of the other ones that came out around that time. But all pale in comparison to this. I think Petra is by far the most important musical act in all of contemporary Christian music. I don't think any of it would be where it is today without these guys blazing the trail, dealing with all the pastors and the churches that were all protesting against them for the kind of music they were making, and really, opening the world up to, what is now, contemporary Christian music. But anyway, hope you enjoyed that. I know it's a little bit different from some of the more well-known mainstream bands that, I do on this show. But again, I think it's something everybody should check out. Open your mind a little bit. I'm not trying to convert you to anything. I'm just saying listen to this album because, whether you can relate to the lyrics or not, the music on this record is fantastic. So that's all I've got this time. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for checking it out. If you like what you saw here, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. I do have other shows. I have other Lost Classics. I have my Unboxing the Vinyl series. I'm also starting a new series that I'm going to be doing on live albums, so check that out. I have some concert footage from Welcome to Rockville, Exit 111, and some other things from the days where we could still go to a concert. Thank you, coronavirus. And if you're into disc golf, I do have some very mediocre disc golf videos featuring some very mediocre players, myself included. So again, subscribe, check it out, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.